And if you understand how the mind works, right, it's always a mind stretch, right? So once your mind has gone through a lot, it has already been stretched. It knows that it can do that much. And therefore, anything that you're doing that is less difficult than that, the mind thinks, no problem, I've been there, done that, right?
Welcome back to Wise and Shine. I'm your host Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut.
And I'm Dawn, SG Budget Pay. Hey, I just realized that we're matching in colours today.
Oh
Not
my.
coordinated.
Why are we color coded? Oh my goodness.
Okay, but aside from digressing, today we're going to talk about actually quite an interesting topic.
Mm.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know if it's interesting or is it
I find
like
it interesting.
or is it like a need? You know, like I feel like these days corporate life is very hard. You know, so like if you don't do this, it's also very hard for you to succeed. Right. And it's a term, right? It's a thing. But beyond that, it's really about the ideas that are embedded in it and the realities of the corporate race today. Like, is no joke. So I don't I feel quite sad that we need to talk about
I think it's important that we do because it's also something, I mean, you try to Google it, you're not going to get a lot of answers. So who better to get some of these answers, at least anecdotal too, from than Alex. Alex, you want to introduce yourself to our audiences?
Hi everyone, thanks for having me on TFC. My name is Alex and I'm the CEO and co-founder at Actxa Wellness. We provide well-being strategy and integrated wellness solutions. So if that's anything that you're looking for, I'm the guy.
Yeah, you can drop the email here. Yeah, but any more plug, I send invoice already.
For those of you who don't know, Alex used to be a former national player and represented Singapore in water polo, right? You were telling me.
Yes.
Yeah, so he is a former athlete and then now he's in the corporate space. So it's really blending together what he learned from his days as an athlete, as a national athlete, as well as all his experiences in the corporate world and how both of them really gel
So
together.
there's a difference between an athlete and a national athlete?
Let's not go there.
Yeah, is there an intensity variance? Maybe you can share with us a little from your perspective. Because to be a national athlete, you must be an athlete first, right? Then you get there, right? What is the kind of variance?
Well, I think that if you were to define athlete, it's anyone really that is involved in some form of sport, right? And this person trains for something that they are competing for.
So is golf an athlete?
Of course, golf is an athlete,
Okay,
right?
like that. Okay. Later I can't cancel.
Yeah lah,
Okay,
later
okay,
you
Go
okay.
to the driving range
Yeah.
also is
Okay.
athlete.
Yeah.
I think babysitting also is
Yeah,
a
it's
bit of
serious athletic.
functional
I think it's
athlete,
more
right?
athletic than golf, you know. Okay. My producer got you in because we saw that Anytime Fitness, you know, that's a keynote speech that you did, right, for one of their festival. And this whole thing about corporate athlete, you know, I was like, oh my God, corporate now also need to be athlete, right? And then I watched through it. I was like, okay, come, let's talk a little bit about it. So maybe just backstory, right? How do you end up with this situation? What made you give that keynote and all that? Just for our audience that don't know you, just a quick, you know, raise into this.
Sure. Right. So it was at the Anytime Fitness Asia Summit. So that's an annual event. And I had the chance to get in touch with the group CEO of Anytime Fitness and we caught up for coffee. And he said, hey, you know, you've got a great background. You know, we've got this summit coming up. Why don't you have a think about what you want to talk about? So I've been in the fitness, health, wellness space for many years, right? Decades, 2 decades. So I thought, okay, what can I put together with my high performance athlete experience, running different businesses and currently providing corporate wellness solutions to a bunch of people that are franchisee owners, gym owners, leaders, managers that are running such gyms. And it's Asia Summit, right? So we have people not just from Singapore, Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, as well as Taiwan. They came from as far as Taiwan. So it was a great turnout, 300 over 400 people. And the topic corporate athlete definitely was something that people were interested to learn more about.
So what is a corporate athlete? So sad.
How I define or how we define corporate athlete is that somebody who uses the tools and experiences that an athlete goes through and applies that to their specific role and job function as a corporate worker. And there's so many that we can talk, for the next 5 hours, 10 hours, and it will be never ending. But I think the base to start with is always that mindset, which is, are you a corporate athlete? If you say yes, then okay. What are the next things that we can talk about to define that and to make sure that the right strategies are put in place for you to be a better corporate athlete?
You probably have a framework around this, right? Like, what are the more important ones, in terms of the character traits and the habits of an athlete, and those that can be applied into the corporate race, right? So what are some of these things that is in your framework?
Well, of course, start off with mindset, right? The next thing, of course, is you're not doing it alone. So even if, let's say, you're a marathon runner, you're a triathlete, you're doing it on your own. But yes, you're running the race on your own, but there's a whole bunch of people in the back that have been supporting you all the way. Maybe you have a coach, you've got a physio that you visit regularly, you go for massage. Maybe you've got a nutritionist, maybe you don't. You've got your whole family and all that's supporting Rara for you. So that team is important.
Sometimes the Rara make it paiseh.
That's not true. That's not true.
No, that's not true. No. Okay.
So as an athlete, you will want that rah-rah. Right? So as a corporate athlete, you will also want, I wouldn't say want, you would need that rah-rah as well. So what is that team that's supporting you? If you cannot identify a team that's supporting you in your role as a corporate athlete, then there's a bit of an issue there, right? So first, mindset. Second, what's that team? Identify that team. And if you don't have that team, then you need to fill that team. You need to fill the slots, send out a word out. Hey, I'm looking for this. I'm looking for that.
Actually, that's quite a vivid framework to think about. Because at least when we think about being an athlete, the same few guys are there, right? Like your coach, your nutritionist, your physio, some of these people. And then if you take that and put it into the corporate structure, then okay, it's a bit clearer. If not, as compared to you need a career coach, you need a HR headhunter, you need all these guys around. I think I understand what you're saying about filling up the team.
I mean, these guys would be part of the team, right?
Yeah.
Even your doctor that does your health screening every year is also part of the team, because he will be identifying which markers are not good, which are good. And these would help you in terms of how you would be progressing with your life or your life as a corporate athlete, right? Yeah. So I think that's number 2, right? And a lot of it also goes into training and conditioning. So understand the life cycle of an athlete. They go through training, they go through conditioning. There's an end goal or a competition that they are working towards. So what are the different milestones? I think pacing yourself, that is probably one of a good term to be able to tie in with this corporate athlete. So taking what an athlete does and applying it to your life as a corporate worker. Of course, if you have not been an athlete, it's difficult. You will probably need a lot more hand-holding and help. But if you have been an athlete, I mean, you don't need to have been a high-performance athlete representing the country or the state. If you were a school athlete, if you think back, right, okay, maybe last time you played football for school, there's a coach, we have to prepare, there is field training, there's gym training, then we need to do stretching, we need to do ice baths, we need to do whatever, we go for massage. All these things are important, and how do you then apply that to your life? So I think if we look at it that way, in a more simplistic way, it will be easy to understand.
What would be the benefits of someone identifying themselves as a corporate athlete versus a corporate worker?
Because worker not sexy. Life's so hard. Need to make for the paycheck.
Yeah, true,
but athletes like, whoa, you're going to win this.
The immediate or the tangible benefits that person would experience from this mindset shift or this classification shift?
I think that the mindset shift definitely would be associating yourself with athletes that have been there, done that. So there are multiple success cases for you to learn from. As a corporate worker, I guess you can learn, right, from some of these famous business people or, CEOs, but they are not so layman as the athlete, right? So a little bit more intangible and harder to reach. But if you apply that to an athlete's mindset, it's a lot easier, it's a lot more tangible, and that framework is there already, put it that way. Of course, some tweaking must be allowed based on each individual's lifestyle or the industry that you're in, and also the intensity and rigor at which you need to work. I think all of that can be applied.
On a more personal scale, can you name or do you know of anyone, whether it's on a personal basis or someone who is a recognized figure in the Singapore workforce, who might embody this whole concept of an corporate athlete?
Cannot say yourself, huh?
Yeah, yourself excluded.
Well, I think that's a great question, and I want to bring us back to a podcast that I started during the pandemic. It was called Athletes Grids From Sports to Life. I had, I think, almost 20
Quite a few, yeah.
guests, but I only managed to run, I think, 12 or 13. Corporate life got the best of me after that. But that interview was really to understand how past or former high-performance athletes are now in their 30s, 40s, 50s. How are they faring in life? And how has being involved as a high performance athlete benefited them in the life that they currently are leading, either as a father, a business owner, or as a worker, right? So definitely there are all many learnings from there. And a lot of whatever they're doing now, they actually attribute to having learned that in
As an
sport.
athlete.
Right. Yeah. And that is something, I guess it happens automatically, right? There's no real framework that they follow, but the fact that we've been there, done that, I think that definitely has benefited them to a large extent.
So what are some of these skills or stuff that they have inherited and taken over from the athlete? Like I can imagine the usual ones like teamwork and discipline would apply, but what are some of the core values that you see coming up from these
Or
former
like
athletes?
rituals and strategies. Yeah.
Let's start with rituals and strategies for one. I think with rituals, that definitely is tied very closely to discipline, right? What you do on a regular basis, that routine, which is habit forming. So how does that habit then translate into a success at certain point in time? If you're able to understand that, you can easily replicate it in the current life that you're leading as a corporate worker. Certain skill sets, I think that are very important, and it's a buzzword in corporate world anyway, is resilience, right? So how has being involved as a high performance athlete made you more resilient? And when we don't think about it, we don't realize that as an athlete, we fail all the time, right? A swimming set, I miss by 1 second, I fail, right? I pass the ball to an opponent and he scores a goal, I fail. And I fail all the time, right? So I've probably failed a million more times than someone who has not had the opportunity to be involved in a sport, to go through that failure and to jump out of that. So that many hours of failing has trained me to be more resilient, like it or not.
Fair.
Right.
fair.
And I think that
So telling
if we
people
are
to
able
fail more.
unlock that,
Yeah. Just go and do it. Just keep failing. And you are not enough walls, the walls will collapse.
But I like that because it does teach you to fail on a measure where the costs are not that big.
Yes.
And so that later on, you
Can you
can then
elaborate a
take
bit more?
that. So like what you said, right? When you're doing all these little failures on the court, on the track, that consequences that come out of that mistake is not that big. At the most, you get riled up by your coach or your teammates say, hey, why you do that? And that's it, right? There's no like lifelong changing consequences. But because you learn to overcome each failure as it is, next time in your other parts of life, when those moments of failures hit you, you're more resilient. Right? You can like, I know how it feels like. I can recognize the way my body responds to it. I know I can overcome it because I've done it a million times before. I can imagine that happening easier for an athlete versus someone who's not an athlete and hasn't had that much chances to fail. Yeah, it's interesting though. I never thought of it in that perspective until you brought it out. Yeah, that's right. Athletes do fail so many times all the time.
And if you understand how the mind works, right, it's always a mind stretch, right? So once your mind has gone through a lot, it has already been stretched. It knows that it can do that much. And therefore, anything that you're doing that is less difficult than that, the mind thinks, no problem, I've been there, done that, right? Unless, of course, you encounter something even more challenging, an adversity that is worse than that, then the mind gets stretched again. But the good thing about sport is that there's progression. You know, the coach is not going to send you straight away to the Olympics. That is if you're qualify, right, you will go for local competitions first, regional competitions, and then, different competitions that help you level up. And I think that also helps, that progression is conditioning that prepares not just the body physically, but also the mind to be able to take on more stress. And that's where it builds resilience and mental toughness. So I think that would be a key thing as a corporate athlete. And of course, you might say, then what about those people that don't do sport? Does that mean that they're not resilient?
I mean, that's why we are here. We are here to try to derive lessons. We're not talking to the athlete that really understands, right? We're trying to derive the lessons from this concept to everyone else that don't, and see whether we can recreate it, right?
And that's also the reason why people, your weekend cyclists, right? Why do they do it? Because they are essentially benefiting, right, from that mindset of an athlete. How about people who in their 40s, 50s, signing up for marathons, going for triathlons? Of course, some might say, midlife crisis and all that, but still, it's really about trying to push the barrier, right, and build that resilience. And that is really how I think that corporate athlete mindset can be further nurtured.
I want to ask a question. So for many athletes, because you guys grew up with discipline, right? You were forced to from
So
young
you say
to
other people are
commit.
not disciplined.
No, so the question is, how can someone who is not an athlete get better at all these discipline? Because to be fair, it's something that everyone struggles with, right? I'll use weight loss as an example. The reason why most people cannot lose weight is because they cannot stay disciplined enough until they hit their goal, or they can do it until they hit their goal, then they lose that discipline and then they rebound. Right? It takes a lot to stay disciplined until you hit your goal and to maintain it after that. But that alone and the way the weight loss industry works is a very telltale sign to all of us that it is not something that's very ingrained in the human nature. But athletes, you guys are even better at doing that because for many years of your life, you have been trained to be disciplined. You have a stronger discipline muscle.
I push that. Okay, although I'm not an athlete now. Okay, but okay, maybe I am. I don't know. Okay, but anyway,
You're
push.
a corporate athlete.
Yeah. I push that because what I think is not highlighted in what athletes do, right, is they have tunnel vision. They drop every other thing. That's why if you interview a lot of athletes, right, they'll tell you, my bigger regrets is when I was younger, I don't get to play with my friends. They swim 5 a.m. After that, swim again. At night, swim again. so in other words, right, they drop every other thing just to get this done. And I think for a lot of people in the day-to-day life, a lot of people lack this. You want to carry everything at one go, right? You want to lose weight, you want to do well, you want to everything you want at one time. Highly unlikely you will survive, or highly unlikely it will work. So there's a process of dropping every other thing, repeating something and getting very good at it, and then finding a way to taper off to be a bit more efficient, holding some standards, and then now you have a bit of space, right? Then you use this space to do the next thing.
So how can both extremes then come together and learn from each other? That's the question that we want to solve. Right? How can the average person who is not an athlete, who may lack some of this discipline muscle because, like you say, we don't drop everything at one go, how can they learn from the high-performing athletes without choosing to drop everything at one go?
No, drop. That's the answer. The answer is drop. You have to drop some things.
I don't believe there's no middle ground. But Alex, what's your thing?
no.
I mean, you are juggling your own workout regime, your corporate life, your kids. You mentioned you have 2 children that you're taking care of as well. So how do you juggle between all of that? Using all these values of discipline without giving up, like what he's saying.
Okay. Later I elaborate. You say first. Yeah.
So I like to take a different approach to this, right? It's not about sacrifice and it's not about dropping. It's about a choice that you're making. So there's a mindset change really. If you say I'm sacrificing spending time with my friends, going to party because I have to go training, then you are already thinking it's a sacrifice. But if I choose to go training versus choosing to go to have a drink with my friends, then you see how...
I know it's more palatable.
It's palatable. So one is choice versus sacrifice. And the other thing is, if we focus on discipline, which actually to me is a full focus on discipline and motivation, which is actually the byproduct of that larger thing that you need to be looking at or thinking about is purpose. So why are you doing what you're doing? Right? We've heard of instances where people can lose weight and people suddenly can stop smoking. Right? I know a very good friend smoking from 19 all the way to 40, and then suddenly she got pregnant. The next day she stopped smoking Because
Girl has a bigger than life reason.
exactly, right? So what is the purpose to which we are doing what we're doing? Are we wanting to lose weight so that we can fit into a pair of jeans that we used to wear when we were 18? I don't think that's the right goal or
Not
right
not
purpose.
strong enough a goal. Not not motivating enough. Yeah.
You get what I mean? So
Wedding photo. Quite motivational. Right? There are enough cases to show that. Yeah, I mean, it's not high above the purpose, Yeah. But please continue.
but purpose is also something that many people are grappling with, right? And I've had the conversation with many friends, and some people say that, hey, my niece or my nephew, he's 21 and he says he's found his purpose. I cannot believe it. I say, why not? Right? Some people can find their purpose at 18. They can find their purpose at 6. I'm not sure 6. I'm thinking about my daughter here. But
she said she found her purpose.
no, she didn't. But I'm just thinking, or people can find their purpose at 40, 50 or 60. Doesn't really matter, right? But the idea is, what is that general direction that you're working towards, that purpose, right? And what we define it is the goals are the different milestones that you have to get you to that purpose, which is not exactly a destination, but a constant.
Yeah.
So if we are able to understand that, then discipline, motivation, and
It
choice
lines
versus
up.
sacrifice all will fall in place. So we're missing the point here. We keep talking about how do we discipline, how do we be motivated, and how do you choose one over the other.
Fair. Although I still think that is semantics. Although I understand what you're saying. You must have something that you are lock and loaded on, whatever you call it, passion, purpose, calling, whatever word it is, right? But it must be big enough that you can focus on it. And then everything else is a smaller goal that inches you there.
Yep.
And then you focus on it, you reframe your mind, it's not a sacrifice, you made a choice so that you feel better about it. But there are many other things, that means all the side lanes, right, they're all close. You just got to do this, right? So, but that does not mean I disagree reframing, because managing that pain is a big part of this process. All right, so that reframing process is important, but the baseline is some things have to go. You still have to focus on this, right? We're not in a misalignment, but it's a bit of a semantics divergence. Yeah. So you see,他agree with 我的.
It's more of all parties are correct and have valid points. It's how you look at it, which is what the purpose of White and Shine is.
Yes.
It?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so back to the topic. So you named some good values that we can take from the world of athletes: resilience, discipline, teamwork. Any others that you would like to highlight that we can look at?
I think with resilience, we talked about failure, right? So I think that is actually quite key, being able to embrace failure. And that's also something that I have worked with young people. And that's something that most young people might not have enough opportunity to fail. And because they don't have enough opportunity to fail, that's where it affects them quite drastically. And that's where, mental health and all of that drops. So we talked about teamwork, we talked about resilience. I think it's also about gratitude, right? Appreciation, right? So this is something that, with gratitude, it's not just about, I succeed in something, then I need to be happy and be thankful for it. But even the little milestone checks that we have along the way, with tiny bit of improvement, it's also worth celebrating, and it's also worth having that gratitude for. So being able to appreciate the little things in life, I think, as an athlete, become a lot more apparent. Whereas if, let's say, you were a corporate worker or you didn't have sport to be involved in as part of your life, you don't have that little thing. So let's just talk about tennis, right? I improved my swing, and the ball, is a lot more accurate now. Let's talk about golf, right? I improved my stance, right? And therefore I don't get a backache anymore after hitting, 100 balls. That kind of thing. So that is something that automatically gives us that response to say that, I'm actually quite good at this. It gives us that confidence to also then continue doing what we're doing.
Yeah. I want to share a side story. During COVID, there was like lockdown, right? Okay, everybody knows, right? Okay. Oh no, it's called circuit breaker, right? When we never locked down. One of the main exercises that I used to do was swimming, right? Swimming was very important to me. I could swim like 20, 30 laps. Not a lot, but no, it's good enough, right? I thought it was good. But then after the circuit breaker, I remember I had to book the Serangoon swimming pool. I went. I was very excited. By the 5th lap, I was having a cramp. I was so sad for the whole week. I was like, what the shit is this? My body is gone. And it was very bad. And I think that's a big part of handling that, like letting it sit. But eventually you get to accept that, okay, now your best are 6 laps. Then we start the grind again. So and next time you go in, you push 2 more, you push 2 more, you push 2 more. And eventually you come back to something like a 15, 16, say, hey, okay lah, a bit better. Right? So and I think that's essentially what being an athlete is about. I mean, not 16 laps, but it's like, you know where you are, and then you just keep pushing. Every time it works, great. It works, great. Does not work, we reiterate, right? We change. What's problem? Because you plateau at certain point in times, right? And I think that's a baseline of how to think about it, lor. Yeah. So I might approve a corporate athlete.
Can pass.
He's my teacher, by the way. Back then, long ago.
Did I teach you how to swim?
No, you didn't. But you're a PE teacher. Yes, I know.
Wait. I don't get it. He was your teacher?
He was my PE teacher in junior college.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that's how I knew him. But we didn't keep in contact until like much later when he came out into the private sector, and then was like, whoa, yeah.
We go way back.
Back. Yeah, when I was trying to siam PE class. Yeah. Okay, cool. Any other things you want to ask around this?
I guess it goes back to that question of for people who are not athletes or who have never been, right? Where can they learn some of this value then? So they can know the mindset shift needed. They can know about the frameworks, the benefits that they'll get out of it. But where can they go? What kind of resources or role models can they look to learn and practice and put all this into place so it goes from just theory to actual implementation?
Yeah.
I think that there are many podcasts for them to listen to, like
Wise and Shine.
like Wise and Shine.
Of course, you're already here, right? Yeah, give me something else,
bro. Frameworks are important and good, right? And listening from people that have done it before. But I think the most important thing really is for them to actually really go out there and already start doing something, right? If you don't kickstart that process and to be doing that something, you don't really know what are the blind spots and what you actually need to be working on. So assuming you've got a framework 1 to 5 that you need to do on a regular basis and you can't follow that 1 to 5, then something is wrong. So then what do you need to do to rejig it? Perhaps you need to speak to somebody. There are lots of executive coaches or coaches out there that can help, career coaches or what have you. You just drop me a call or text, right? And I can assist, right? There are many ways that you can address that. Important thing is to try lah. If you don't try, you never know. And I think that in itself is the athlete mindset, because most of the time, let's use a sport where, let's use football, right? I don't dare to take a shot, right? Or let's use basketball. I don't dare to take the 3-point shot during the last 10 seconds.
You never get good at it.
You don't know. You don't try. You never know, right? Same, right? So as a corporate worker, corporate athlete, that's also something that you need to do and you need to try.
So for someone who has recognized, let's say for our listeners and audiences who tune into the start of this episode and like, hey, I think I'm a corporate worker, and now they're like, okay, I think I want to make that shift to identifying as a corporate athlete. What concrete steps can they take
in a corporate setting,
shift?
right?
Yeah, in a corporate setting to make that shift happen.
I think routine is important, right? So building the ritual, building the routine. And this routine and ritual, of course, doesn't just include your waking up, brush your teeth and getting dressed and all that. But what sort of structure do you want to change? Waking up a bit earlier, waking up a bit later, or what do you want to be doing when you wake up, right? And with athletes, it could be a stretch routine they could do if there's no training, or of course, maybe if there's training, they're off for training. It could be a 10-minute, sort of a meditation or mindfulness sort of exercise, breath work that they do before they start the day. So all these are different things that athletes incorporate in their routine. And this is something that you should do. Eating clean is definitely something that should be practiced, right? Watching oily, fried, deep fried, ultra processed food, that's too much sugar is also not good.
Brought to you by Health Promotion Board. Very kidding.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying Wise and Shine so far. I'm your host Reggie, aka your chief financial coconut, and for us to continue to do this show so that you become a tad bit wiser every week, you gotta like, share, subscribe, help us beat the algorithm. But even more importantly, if you can, comment in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts and also some questions that you would love us to answer. Yep, now back to the show.
What is your personal ritual that you use that you can share with us, which we can maybe learn from?
Okay, earlier I shared with you that I try to work out 3 to 4 times a week, right? So assuming it's
This
a workout
try
day,
is very big.
yeah, because
Competing priorities.
Life gets in the way.
yeah, life gets in the way. Too many things are happening as a father, as a son, as a husband, as a business owner. Many things, but try. Right. Well, I guess 70% of the time it happens, right? At least 3 to 4 times. So assuming it's a exercise day, I would wake up at 5. So alarm rings at 5.
Oh wow, the 5 a.m. club.
Yeah, 5 a.m. club.
There's such a thing.
Yes, there's a book.
Oh, okay.
No choice. But for me, you know,
I'll start a 9 a.m. club. Just sleep, guys. Like, okay. Anyway, yes, please continue.
And as with household chores, you know, duties, I do the laundry. So I'll pop laundry into the washing machine. It takes about 1 to 1 hour, 20 minutes cycle. And in that time, that's where I work. Right. So I choose to end my work day early at 5 when I pick my kids from school. So when that happens, I don't reply any emails or what until the next day. So from 5 to 7, laundry is done. I'm replying emails, I'm strategizing, I'm working. And then I hang the laundry and then I go for a workout at the park or I go for a run, whatever. It's 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Then I'm back. I do a little bit of breath work, 5 minutes, right? Just to bring my heart rate down, to cool, plan for the day. And I wake my kids up for school, send them to school, and then my day starts at 9:30, 10, right? It could be meetings in the office, or it could be meetings outside. That goes on until 4:35 before I pick my kids up. Yeah, so that is the routine that I follow. Of course, after I pick my kids up and we come home, I spend good time with kids. We have dinner together, shower them,
I can tell you really love
put them
your
to bed. And I try my best to sleep also by 11, which doesn't always happen because sometimes the kids refuse to sleep. And then it's by 12. So that means I'm getting 5 hours, maximum 6 hours a day of sleep. If I'm lucky.
Is that enough rest though? So earlier on we were talking about rest being a big thing for athletes as well, right? It's 5 to 6 hours.
I cannot, bro.
Yeah.
So that's kind of your day-to-day routine. Or does it change on the weekend?
Weekend.
But thanks for
it's the
being
same
so
because-
detailed until laundry. You also tell me, what time you do. Yes.
I didn't add in the times that I need to go toilet.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Too
Yeah,
much
implicit.
info. Okay.
But anyway, it's not enough. But having that corporate athlete mindset, I have a timeline in place as well. So I know that my kids are this age. I know that I'm at this trajectory in my business. I know that it's not forever for the next 10, 20 years of my life that I will be only getting 5, 6 hours of sleep. And I advocate for at least 7, right? That time will come when my kids are older. They go to primary school, and then I get more time to do a lot more things of my own as well. I can work out every day, in the middle of the day as well. I don't know. And yeah, so I think having you mentioned tunnel vision earlier, right? So with that tunnel vision, it's also recognizing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Fair.
There are some people that have that tunnel vision, but they are in pitch darkness. And because of that, they're lost. And because of that, anxiety sets in, right? So if you don't have that light at the end of the tunnel and you don't know that it's not forever going to be like that, then anxiety sets in, and that's where so many other things will happen with the anxiety.
Yeah. If you listen to the podcast, there's one other episode that we did with these two young, they went to do a whole work abroad in Australia, the whole thing with the working visa. And they came back with a lot more clarity. They came back to the Singapore corporate grind. So they left the corporate grind to go to Australia to pick berries and do all the shit, right? And they came back with a lot more clarity with what they want. They rejoined the grind, but they have the light at the end of the tunnel now. So the way they go about doing it is so different, right? So I think Chloe and Jordan. You can check out one of the older
I
episodes.
think I might have caught glimpses of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Chills with TFC.
Going back to that, okay, so that's helpful. So for someone who wants to make the transition from recognizing themselves as a corporate worker to a corporate athlete, your advice is start first with the routine. So examine what your day-to-day routine is right now, where it's bringing you to, and if there's areas of growth or sustainability in there, if there isn't, what you can do to change it, to add in things that athletes might do for their own. And you have shared yours, which is very helpful. I think for most people, we don't calendar in the time for workout, but it's helpful to know that for you, you block out like your 5 to 7 plus as your most optimal, do own stuff for your own mental health and the laundry.
Yes, laundry. Very
Laundry is
important.
also for mental health, so that wife don't disturb you, right?
I see,
So it's a
I
team
see.
effort, so it's important. Yes.
But I think that's very useful. So clocking in that time, looking at your routine, that's the first step. What's another step that they can take next?
I think from that routine, you would then understand what is lacking, right? And that's where the support, that team comes in, right? So
Filling up the roles.
Who are the people that I need to be considering, to be speaking to and looking for? And I mean, as part and parcel of that also comes into the work that I do now, which is well-being. So which areas of your life do you feel or do you acknowledge and are aware of that could potentially need a little bit more sayanging, right? I'm an extrovert. I like to hang out with people. If I live my life routine every day, one person, home, work, I don't think I'll be a very happy person. My well-being will be not optimized, right? So I arrange to meet people in my day, and once a week, I would have a social meeting, right? Or twice a week. And that elevates my well-being. And it also helps me in terms of ideation. It helps me in terms of my mental and emotional well-being, because I am potentially sharing some challenges that I might have, and that person would be maybe experiencing the same thing, right? And that's also from an athlete point of view. If I have a fellow athlete that I'm speaking to, we are sharing commonalities at the same time, helping to support each other, right, in our endeavors. So that is something that I do. And I would encourage anyone that is not doing that to actually get that going.
Yeah.
I'm reminded at this point
do
by
that
a
a few
recent
times.
episode we did with Simone about connecting with someone who has these commonalities with you. It's so interesting to know that even in the athletes world, you guys also see that as a very
Aunties
big
also
thing.
do it, they gossip. Gossip is connecting, right? We always make
everyone,
gossip sound
right?
very,
That's what she says, it's
very
like
sad, right? But
ingrained
actually,
in our-
it's a big part of your social life and the social support, right?
So you highlighted doctors, which was very insightful, because I would have never considered a doctor as part of
my
the team.
team.
Yeah, but now that you say it, I can see how that changes my own perspective, because I will now be looking at, okay, I probably need to spend at least once a year really checking in with my doctor, or committing to like once a year or every 2 years health checkups, just to make sure that my markers and everything are where it should be and can catch stuff early. Yeah, I would have never thought about that as a team. Who else would be filling up these roles other than the usual family, friends, colleagues, or people who are walking the same path or industry, and your doctors? Who else would be an unexpected teammate that people wouldn't think of?
I think that let's talk about doctor first, right? So as doctors, you also need to find the right doctor that got more tea with you, right? Not all doctors are made the same. So you need to find a doctor with the right.
Yeah,
more
I love
tea
my
as well.
doctor, but a bit intense sometimes. Like the checkup a bit regular. Like, hey, relax lah, bro. Right, tarik a bit, okay. Like yeah. But all this is part of the mochi, right? You can talk to the person and say like, hey, this is too
That's
much.
probably the reason why you keep going back to him.
Yeah,
as well.
It's like, I'm going through too much at this point. I know this is important, but I'm deprioritizing this because of the other things, right? Let me go through that first. When I'm done, I'll come back and get this sorted, right? So it's interesting.
So we talked about doctor, right? I think there's also that support person that you speak to on a regular basis, right? Or it could be a few people. It doesn't have to be that one person that you have that human connection with. I think that so things like Nutrition, I think most people can handle on their own. Things like exercise, I think most people also can handle on their own. Unless, of course, they have a little bit of money to spend, they can engage a trainer, or they would go for gym membership or what have you, right? Actually, baseline, I think this is the key and the most important.
To be a
already.
corporate athlete.
Yeah, of course, you would have a physiotherapist or a strength and conditioning coach of sorts, right? If that were an athlete, not I will consider it a luxury if you were a corporate athlete just starting out lah. Yeah, but important thing is get health checked, have that champions that you can go to at any one point, that you want to have those conversations for that real human connection, because that elevates your mental as well as emotional well-being. Sometimes we don't actually need to speak to that psychotherapist or that counselor, unless of course it's clinically
It's intense, like it's
intense.
clinically proven.
So
yes.
that person could very jolly well meet that need that you have.
Yeah. I found those friends and it's amazing. And one thing I've been recently practicing, right, is to try to jumble them up. Because in the past, when I do all these like business meetings, I'm not an extrovert lah. Okay, I'm quite introvert. But I know I need to do this thing, right? Either way, someone has to do all the business meetings. So in the past, I will stack the business meetings, right, whole day. And by the third or fourth, right, my face just looks like another meeting. I cannot go in and 表演 anymore, right? I just can't do shit by the third or fourth. So I recently, this trip when I'm back, I kind of shuffle it a little bit, right? So I will meet business meetings, maybe the first 2 meetings, and then I have a lunch with a friend, and then I will like maybe do one more business meeting, and then at the end I'll meet some random person that I thought was very interesting, just have coffee, that type of thing. So you kind of like jumbo it a little bit. To some people it's like, hey, you're not working, right? Like, but to me that is what works for me, right?
No, but that is work.
Yeah. And it's a big part of it, right? So
Yes.
so working on optimizing the rest and managing that kind of energy level, knowing that okay, you at best can run 3 meetings, you need to take 1 or 2 hours off after that before you go back with the optimal performance level. I think that is a reality check.
Yeah.
And when I try that, it's like, hey, very shiok. Now I don't feel so bad about business meetings. I don't feel like, So it's quite
Actually,
nice.
just listening to you both today, I can already see one very huge tangible benefit of adopting the corporate athlete mindset versus a corporate worker, which is something also that governments around the world are pushing on, is the fact that an athlete, you guys would take care of your own health and your body. You need to make sure you're in optimal physical, mental, and emotional condition so that you can score that shot, you can break your personal records, you can be productive. But I think for most corporate workers, that becomes secondary. It's about like completing the day, getting the paycheck. And that's why we hear so many stories, especially overseas, about people burning out, dropping dead at their desk, or like, they work, they'll say stories of, I dedicated and logged 20 years of my life to this company, and then I got like this terminal illness from working too hard, because they don't prioritize that. But now that you say it, the fact that counting your doctor as part of your teammate, your nutrition, your exercise, to make sure that you're in optimal mode, that is actually a very, very important perspective, and it will help all of us to run the corporate rat race for longer.
Yeah.
That's how you balance, right?
And better,
Sustainability
yeah.
versus peak performance.
Yeah, and to be fair, there are sometimes I think athletes will do that, right? There's sometimes you just gotta push,
Yes.
right? And then after that you gotta tarik.
There's
right?
some moments like when you're chonging for the nationals, right? You chong.
Like you have to you have to block a lot of other things. I said, just work with me, okay? And then you just get the shit done. And then once you're done, then you tarik. But you go in with the view that you are burning from both ends, right?
Yeah.
Like this is intense. But once you're done, then you heal.
And then make sure you factor in the
Yes.
rest and the downtime.
yes.
There's the lao that comes with that high intensity,
Yeah.
so that there's that break lah. As opposed to, as a corporate worker, if you chong all the way, then you're not giving
you're not being
break
smart
that you
about
need.
it. You don't manage that. And I think it's sometimes it's not just the individual. Sometimes the managers also need to know this lah.
Yeah.
Right? Because like some managers just like, hey, KPI chong, everyday motivation. It's like, what the hell is this shit? It does not work, right? So I think my team can say I quite good at this lah. Right?
I guess if
I know.
managers also start recognizing their workers and team members as corporate athletes, and then they will start to care more about that person's physical health, mental health, and emotional emotional wellness, that can also help the team to perform longer and stay under the manager for
It's true.
a
it's
longer
true.
time to
So
really
you
get
don't
things done.
you don't let me say what I do for the team. Okay. It's just a side thing. I think this is a good context. You can think a little bit about it. Like we covered the budget, right? Singapore budget is very intense. After the parliament discussion, next morning, like we all come in and record, right? And then after we record, there's 2 more other recordings, and then the guys are already starting to cut, right? So immediately we send into the cloud, the other side downloads, and then it's just like editing just full on for the whole week. All the changes, questions in and out. It's very intense. So
There was a tunnel, and then the light is around. The budget is not going to be around forever.
yeah, it's
that's
not going to be
why.
forever. and then my commitment to the team is tahan. Okay, this week is crazy. Finish it. Last week of the month you can more tarik, right? And then you must stick by it, right? And then in other words, as a founder and as someone that wants to do all these things, I will always have ideas. Right? I was like, hey, maybe we should do this, but then I have to commit to the team, and then all these things have to be moved down, right? So it's a little bit of that kind of back and forth. Like as a manager, you run this team, you want everybody to be optimal, you want people to stretch sometimes, but you must let them tarik lah.
Yeah,
Right? I feel like a lot of
recuperate
managers
too.
don't do that, right? It's just like bounce. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this has been a really insightful episode. Thank you, Alex, for your insights. I think
thank you.
we can all have a lot of takeaways, not just as individuals, how we can adapt some of these values and regimes, routines that athletes do to make themselves perform better, but also even from the context of managers and even helping us get through like periods of highs versus lows. When do we chung versus when we relax and tarik a bit? Yeah, I think lots of insights here. So if you guys like this episode, let us know in the comments below. And if you'd like to learn more from Alex or any one of us, you can find Alex on, where should they find you? On LinkedIn?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn. You can search for me, Alex Low.
Are you a LinkedIn top voice now?
No leh.
Not yet, huh? Not yet. About that already, I
Maybe
can
in
feel
10
it
years,
already.
huh?
No, it's coming already. I can feel it. What the activity on your post is good. It's good.
So you can search him out on LinkedIn, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Nice.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.